Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, a copyrighted edition for our video channel. We're here with the executive producer of our show, Hawk. And she has had a very busy day, hiking, running through the woods, chasing squirrels, acting like a dog, and she is exhausted. And we're at the end of the day, so she's super tired. She decided to wake up just enough for us to say hello. And she said, Dad, I'm going to let you take care of the program tonight. And please just let me rest. And I can do that. So, this is a missing person segment. And since I am going to be at Phenomicon September 6th and 7th, I decided to put this up, a special Utah edition of Missing 411. A pretty huge thing happened today. And just so you know, I recorded this before I went to Phenomicon. But back on August 30th, a Friday, there's a show on Fox News called The Five. And one of the people that sits on The Five is a woman named Emily Campagno. Emily is an attorney, worked for the government, super smart, and she's now a Fox contributor. I must have gotten 100 emails about this. During the show, they highlighted an incident that happened in Colorado where a hiker was with his friends hiking up a mountain. And the friends said, hey, you'll find your way back, and they went, these are work associates, and they actually went down the mountain and left this guy behind. A search and rescue found him alive and brought him down. I can only imagine what the conversation is going to be like with work associates. Well, needless to say, this hit a lot of the profile points that I talk about all the time. And one of the Fox hosts was talking about this case. And then Emily kind of raised her hand like she had a comment. And the camera went to her and she said, just like Dave Paulides' profile points. Whoo! I thought, man, somebody's watching my movies. This is awesome. I think Emily probably watched the UFO Connection, but thanks, Emily Campagno, for bringing up my work. I greatly appreciate it. And spreading the word about Missing 411. Now, today, we're going to talk about two cases. One of the cases happened just recently. One of the cases happened in 2011. The 2011 case is one of the strangest ever. It involves a young man at the time named Joseph Bushling. Now, Joseph was in the U.S. Army. He was 26 years old at the time he went missing. Went missing May 11th, 2011 from Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah. He was essentially an on-duty soldier. The Proving Grounds are operated by the U.S. Army, and it was established in 1942, and it was there to test Allied U.S. biological and chemical weapons. It has the potential to be a very, very dangerous place. Thus, its location in the middle of nowhere desert in Utah. The missing poster about Joseph. Joe was born June 3rd, 1984 in Yuba City, California. His parents later moved to Russellville, Arkansas, where he spent the majority of his youth. He went with them and he graduated from Dover High School in 2002. 6 years later, he enlisted in the U.S. Army. Joseph was somebody who enjoyed taking care of people. He was a nurturing type man. He received specialized training in the Army to be a medic, but that wasn't his end goal. His first overseas assignment was South Korea near the DMZ. And then he was returned to the U.S. and assigned to Dugway. Now, during his soldiering, he was considered an excellent employee. And listen to this list. He received the Army Achievement Medal, the Army Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Medal, the Army Service Ribbon, the Overseas Service Ribbon. Now, let me explain. When the Army comes out and says that you're a top-rate soldier, not everyone gets that designation. Joseph was. In May 2011, Joseph contacted his good friend, fellow soldier, John Hawkins. They always got up early in the morning, 3:30. Joseph didn't have anything to do that morning, and he asked John if he could borrow his 2001 Mitsubishi Lancer for a drive. This wasn't a strange request. He had borrowed it before. He liked to drive out in the desert. He enjoyed the desert. 4 a.m., John gave him the keys, and Joseph took off for a drive. Now, needless to say, it's very dark out there. This is the map. This is Salt Lake City. Dugway Proving Grounds, southwest of Salt Lake. This is in the middle of nowhere, folks. Pretty godforsaken area. But one thing about driving in the desert that's just awe-inspiring is that the sky lights up. You could see things you could never see in the city. And it was apparent Joe liked to do this. So he was looking at the sky, because at the ground you can't see much. But in the sky you can see a lot. Now, Joseph was very excited about this day that he borrowed the car, because later that day, he was leaving on a flight because he got accepted into nursing school in Texas for the Army. Something he always wanted. He was stoked. So this was like a farewell drive, say goodbye to the desert. Well, he was supposedly going to be back in just a few hours. He didn't come back. At 7 p.m., John, the guy who lent him the car, got a call from Joseph saying, and this went to voicemail, he said, "I ran out of gas." Well, John had already told the commanding officer that Joe was missing. Should have been back. That phone call, at the time, really didn't get the press that it deserved. Why do I say that? Fast forward, August 13th, 2014, there was an article. It was an interview with the lead investigator on this case, Investigator Herrera. And he explained what that phone call and voicemail was. He told on the voicemail that he had lost his shoes, but was walking towards the base gate. He sounded depressed but frantic. Nobody had any idea where he could be. Well, from that call, the base commander called the Toole County Sheriff, and Dugway and Toole worked together to try to find Joseph. There was a massive search and rescue of the area. It was like finding a needle in the haystack. May 14th, a search had been going on for several days. One of the searchers was off duty, but he still went out there looking in areas that hadn't been covered. And this off-duty searcher found John's car on Dugway Pass. It was noted in the reports that the car was in an odd position off the roadway, facing downhill. The doors were locked, but the dome light was on. It stated that the car was phenomenally clean, but that may have been because in the last several days before it was found, it had rained heavily. Weather. Rained heavily in the desert is very odd, to say the least. Raining hard in the desert would wipe away a lot of tracks. So 2 days after they find the car, well, first of all, they find the car and all the search goes to that area. And they put a lot of resources, helicopters, etc. 2 days later, on May 16th, Joseph always wore an Arkansas Razorback hat. They found it. It was never said exactly how far from the car it was, but the sheriff put 3 bloodhounds on the hat, 20 search and rescue members, a helicopter, and they thought that they were going to find Joseph right away. Now, if you're a longtime follower of mine, I hope you're paying attention. In Missing 411, the UFO connection, Carl's truck was not found on a roadway. It was found in a position that they had to get a special tow truck to pull it out of there, and they didn't understand how it got there. And now John's car is found way off the road in an unusual position. Keep that in mind. Well, as of May 31st of that year, all efforts had failed. But on October 28th, the sheriff decided to bring cadaver dogs through that area. A brilliant move. And you'd think, because it was a desert, that the winds would blow the odor from a body for miles and it'd be easily found. It wasn't. They ran for 2 days. They didn't find anything. May 23rd to the 25th, 2012, almost 10 months after Joe disappeared, the parents set up a special search and rescue with the assistance of a search and rescue organization. The organization brought 5 dog teams, 9 equestrian teams, and 20 ground pounders. They searched for 3 days. Found nothing. The Tooele sheriff was interviewed about this case. And he stated that this case was unusual on many points. He didn't list them. The Army seemed to be a little miffed or upset about Joseph, and they listed him AWOL initially. I'm thinking, AWOL? Where's he going to run away to in the middle of the desert? I don't think so. But they listed him AWOL, even though he was a stellar soldier. After the initial search was over, soldiers that were friends of Joseph's at Dugway wanted to use their private time to go out and search, and downtime to go out and search. Dugway said no. Why would Dugway say no? This has always bothered me. I can't tell you the number of searches I have researched where Army soldiers participate in the search. Now, why would Dugway refuse this of one of their own? It doesn't make any sense to me. On August 3rd, 2012, the courts in Utah issued a death certificate for Joseph. Fox 13 at about this time in Salt Lake City sent several requests to interview Dugway leadership in the Army, and they were all ignored and refused. Why? Folks, you got to remember something. Those people work for us. They're our employees. They need to be accountable. They need to answer questions. Now, the total effort on this search, 50 equestrians, 13 different dogs, 50 ground pounders, 3 helicopters. Approximate number of days, probably over 25 days searching. The only evidence they ever found that Joe was even in the area was his hat and his car. There were many, many articles written about this case that are blatantly incorrect. His car was located 65 miles from the front gate of the base. Army stated that it's not a case of suicide or foul play. There were rumors that Joseph was depressed over family matters. It's entirely not true. His friend said that he was overly excited about getting starting on that nursing career in Texas, and it was a transfer that he really looked forward to. Okay. I want you to think analytically and a critical thinker right now. They found his car in an odd place off the road. Joe was very respectful of other people's property and had treated John's car very well in the past. So why would he do that, if he did? Question 2. Why would the car be locked in the middle of nowhere? There's not a chance it's going to get stolen. There's not a chance someone's going to run over and steal something from out of the car. Why would it be locked? Why would the dome light be on? The dome light. The only thing I could think of with the dome light is that he may have been looking for something in the car. My question is, was Joseph in the car and locked the doors trying to keep somebody out? And they somehow removed him from the car. His cell phone was never found, the one he called on. My question was, why didn't they triangulate the cell phone? That question is probably easily understood because there's not enough cell towers in that area in the middle of nowhere to triangulate. Well, it's been 13 years. Joseph's never been found. Do I know what happened to him? No. Do I think something very, very, very unusual happened? Yes. He was too much committed to the military to walk away. I don't know what happened to Joseph, but I feel very, very sad for his family that had to go through that. Now, the second case is very, very recent. Man's name is Howard Stone, 64 years old, missing August 10th, 2024. This is Howard. He was missing near Goblin Valley State Park in Utah. He is a BYU grad, lived a lifetime in a place called Spanish Fork, Utah. He actually graduated from Spanish Fork High School. He was the Regional Patient Access Director for a healthcare agency. He's a smart man. Family man. On August 10th, Howard played golf in Emery County, Utah, and then drove to the Little Wild Horse Canyon trailhead and parked his car. This is a very narrow slot canyon that's beautiful to hike up, adjacent to Goblin Valley State Park. Now, 3 p.m. that same day, Howard's son knew his dad was going to go hiking, golfing, and knew he'd try to call him later in the day. Well, he did at 3 o'clock and there was no answer. His dad told him he should have been out of the canyon by then in previous calls. Well, the son called his sister in Illinois to see if maybe she had heard from her dad, and she hadn't. Well, now flashing yellow lights are going off, alarm bells are ringing, and the son and daughter are thinking, where's dad? Good kids. Following day, August 11th, Brandon, the son, reported his dad missing to the Emery County Sheriff's Office. Emery County contacted Goblin Valley, which is just down the road, a very small amount. And park personnel from Goblin Valley went and found Howard's car right at the trailhead where it was supposed to be. And at about this time, family members started to arrive. Now, this is Goblin Valley State Park. Consider the trailhead just a little tiny bit southwest, very, very little, in the middle of nowhere. Here's Canyonlands National Park. Here's Arches National Park. And right up here at Fort Duchesne, this is where Skinwalker Ranch is at. So Woodside, Utah, Emery, Utah, Green River, Utah. So you kind of have a flavor. There's Goblin Valley is surrounded on two sides by national parks. So Emery County is a very remote county in Utah. I've talked about this before. If you go missing in these remote areas, resources are tough to get. They don't arrive within hours. Sometimes they arrive within days. And without a lot of resources, meaning places to eat, places to get food, without these things nearby, it's hard to maintain people on site. Well, on August 12th, Emery County deployed a full search and rescue. Helicopter, ATVs, ground pounders, drones. They worked above and they worked in the canyon where Howard may have went. They were a little careful because the next day there was a flash flood advisory. Now, if you've never been in any of these slot canyons, you can die quickly in a flash flood. And that doesn't mean that it takes super heavy rain to flood out these areas. Just a moderate amount can sometimes wipe out an area. You have to be ultra careful. Well, on August 14th, there was a flash flood advisory. They pulled everybody out on the 13th, but they kept searching the upper areas that wouldn't flood. August 14th, the Civil Air Patrol flew the skies. The Utah Wings group in 3-member teams flew 6 to 8 hours that day. Civil Air Patrol, one of the best volunteer organizations in the United States. People with their own planes fly search and rescue missions for free. Usually a pilot and 2 observers. Outstanding organization. Look into them. If you're a pilot especially. August 15th, more search and rescue members on site searching. August 16th, I personally called Emery County because there had been so little press about it. And they said, yeah, search and rescue is still ongoing. Now for Howard, Spanish Fork was his home. A drive to the Goblin Valley from his home was about 2.5 hours. Howard was described as a very experienced hiker. He had 4 children, 12 grandchildren that loved him, and he loved being active and hiking. And on that date, the family posted a $10,000 reward. That's not a small noodle. It's a lot of money. And I'm guessing why they posted this. The sheriff probably told him, hey, we need to keep people searching in the field here. Maybe we can get a reward going. I'm guessing that's why. And to get a little publicity. It was a good move. It was August 16th. Searchers kept on seeing, kept going. This is phenomenal that they stayed there. August 21st, Howard's daughter gave an interview. She stated that she initially felt her dad would be found in a day or two max. She eventually, when he wasn't found, flew from Illinois. She participated in the search. And on the 21st stated, "It's not a search any longer, it's a recovery of my dad." She last spoke to her dad the Monday before his disappearance. She said that her dad had bought a ticket to Illinois to see his family. And she stated that she had no idea what would take him off trail. That is important, folks. When you hike alone, stay on the trail. If you go off trail, I've said this 100 times, if you go off trail and you break your leg and nobody finds you, you're dead. If you break your leg, you're not going anywhere. I have broke my leg. People have told me, including physicians, that I have a super high pain threshold. Well, let me tell you, you break your tib fib in your lower leg or you break your femur, it hurts so much you're not moving. Trust me, you're not moving. And that's why you need to carry a personal locator beacon. Many of the new phones out today have a personal locator beacon built in. And no, that's not the GPS indicator in your phone. This is a special transmission device that works off satellites. It's built into phones now. It's kind of cool. People always ask me, do I recommend a personal locator beacon? No, I don't. But I will tell you that if any personal locator beacon has a monthly fee, you don't need that. And there's personal locator beacons out there that do not have a monthly fee. All right? August 22nd. The sheriff of Emery County is a man named Tyson Huntington. And he kind of gave an update to the news. Now, first, let me say something about Tyson. I admire this man a lot. Without significant resources, he did a heck of a job getting people in there, staying on site, and getting a multitude of different resources to search for Howard. I admire him. He stated that Howard was only seen one time on the trail by a young couple. Didn't really explain very much more than that. He said that unfortunately the search and rescue was restricted at the beginning because of a flash flood advisory, which I explained. But he said that they still put people on ATVs on the surrounding hills looking. That was a good move. Couldn't put them in the air because of the weather conditions. I mean helicopters and drones. He stated that his team was there the first night and searched till midnight. And that is important. That first 24 to 48 hours after somebody goes missing, especially in an area that's really hot or really cold, is critical in finding the victim. Good job. And then he stated that he had a helicopter on scene for 3 days out of St. George, Utah. But the most troubling thing that Tyson said, and this is no knock on him at all, but it's an honest statement that you hear rarely from search and rescue. He stated that nothing has given us any evidence about where to search. Wow. Wow. Well, they stated that they had dogs on scene multiple days, canines. And in fact, he said the canine teams came from Salt Lake City and stayed 2 days, spent the night at Goblin State Park. That meant that those canines never picked up a scent, because that scent would have given them direction. He stated that they actually searched the Goblin Valley area just in case Howard went there. He said they had a SAR meeting. This is later. There was a SAR meeting, and he says it was depressing. He said they had no leads, they had no direction, and they were going to do one last search over the weekend of the 24th and the 25th of August. Found nothing. Last thing the sheriff said is that he was highly impressed with the commitment of the searchers that came in. And let me tell you, folks, in this day and age, to find people that are willing to sacrifice their time away from their family, searching for somebody they don't know, probably in an area they've never been to, under extremely tough conditions, hot, 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 and to continue to press when they have no direction, that to me is the definition of an American hero right there. And all the searchers who participated in looking for Howard, you deserve a huge hug and a pat on the back. You did not fail. We do not know if Howard's even there. And I don't mean that on a derogatory way at all. Because the number of times that there's been comprehensive, intensive searching just like this, and then a week, a month later, all of a sudden they're found in an area that had been searched 20 times, it makes no sense. And that's not the searcher's fault. Dogs don't make mistakes. Well-trained dogs are the best of the best. Now, I have great compassion for the loss that Howard's family sustained, and I'm really sorry to hear that. But if you are in that Utah area and you want to do some hiking, you might go into that area near Goblin Valley and see if you can find Howard. And that would be in the Little Wild Horse Canyon Trailhead. Little Wild Horse Canyon Trailhead is where he parked his car. Howard Stone. Remember, this is the kindness revolution. We need to be kind. Kind to each other, kind to family members, especially in times of deep stress. It costs nothing. You are appreciated right there for watching and spreading this word. Put this on your social media. Let people see. Utah is a strange place. Very strange. Remember, I talked about the quality of canines and searching, and even the really good dogs need a break every once in a while. Huck is out for the count. Paulides out.